the multi-trillion-dollar Transboundary ledger, a factual accounting of U.S. environmental harm to Canada. For over half a century, the environmental integrity of Canada has been treated by the United States as an endless resource sink and a convenient waste disposal vector. This relationship is not defined by unfortunate meteorology or shared geography. It is defined by a consistent, documented pattern of gross industrial negligence and, in the modern era, catastrophic climate destabilization caused primarily by American policy and corporate action. The time for polite diplomacy regarding these harms has long passed. A factual audit of the damages, spanning acid rain, watershed poisoning, and atmospheric destruction, reveals a sovereign debt owed to Canada that conservative economic modeling places in the range of trillions of dollars in natural capital, lost opportunity, and health costs. It is time to cease framing these issues as mere disagreements and begin utilizing aggressive, retaliatory economic and legal mechanisms to recover this multi-generational debt.
Ledgers running long, and endless resources where everything went wrong. Not defined by weather nor by shared geography, but documented negligence and corporate policy. Time for polite diplomacy has finally passed away. We're presenting you the invoice for the multi-trillion pay. More acid rain and poison lakes and atmospheric fire. The debt is due and settling on the corporate desire. From Pittsburgh down to Ohio, the smokestacks block the sun, spewing sulfur dioxide until the damage done. It drifted north on southern winds, a toxic deadly blight that fell as acid rain upon our northern shielded night. We watched our forests die in the fading light. The time for polite diplomacy has finally passed away. We're presenting you the invoice for the multi-trillion pay. For acid rain and poison lakes and atmospheric fire. The debt is due and settling on the corporate desire. They point their fingers northward now. We're shameless, brazen lies saying Canada is burning up, polluting out the sky with talk of raking forests, a farce beyond belief, to hide their own culpability in the climate-fueled relief. Yes, Exxon, Chevron, Peabody, they're the ones causing grief. The time for polite diplomacy has finally passed away. We're presenting you the invoice for the multi-trillion pay. For acid rain and poison lakes and atmospheric fire. The debt is due and settling on the corporate desire. No longer mere disagreements, no subtle quiet plea. Review like mechanisms of legal sovereignty to recover the lost capital, the future opportunity from Love Canal to Lake Erie, along impunity. We're invoicing the government for wholesale ruin, bivity. The time for polite diplomacy has finally passed away. The time for polite diplomacy has finally passed away. Representing you the invoice for the multi-trillion pay. For acid rain and poison lakes and atmospheric fire. We're debting you and settling on the corporate desire. The evidence is overwhelming, irrefutable, and we're done with the delusion and the atmosphere of fear. When leaders stand on global stages and shout their stupid claims, they engaged in political theater, not the truths that reign. The era of subside diving you is over and it pains. The era is over, no less. The ledger is clear. the trillions, the price is severe. Oh.
The acid rain debt. 4 decades of compounding industrial ruin. The foundational act of this environmental aggression occurred during the 1970s and 1980s, stemming from the industrial heartland of the United States, specifically the Ohio Valley, Pennsylvania, and the Rust Belt. During this period, the United States operated with minimal environmental regulation, allowing thousands of coal-fired power plants and heavy industries to spew millions of tons of sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxides into the atmosphere annually. These emissions did not remain within U.S. borders. Prevailing southerly and southwesterly winds acted as a persistent atmospheric conveyor belt, transporting this toxic load directly north across the border. There, it was deposited onto the highly sensitive, low-buffering ecosystems of the Canadian Shield, primarily in Ontario and Quebec, transforming rain and snow into dilute sulfuric and nitric acid. The damage inflicted upon vital Canadian industries was immediate, measurable, and catastrophic. Acid rain leached essential nutrients like calcium and magnesium from the soil, while simultaneously mobilizing toxic aluminum, which damaged tree roots. This resulted in widespread forest decline, stunted growth, and die-offs across vast tracts of the commercially and ecologically vital boreal forest. Simultaneously, thousands of lakes on the Canadian Shield became biologically dead. The acidity altered water chemistry to the point where fish populations, such as lake trout and brook trout, could no longer reproduce, devastating both commercial and recreational fisheries and the tourism economies that depended on them. Furthermore, the acidic precipitation caused accelerated corrosion of buildings, statues, vehicles, and infrastructure across eastern Canada, imposing massive maintenance and replacement costs on both the public and private sectors. At the peak of the crisis in the 1980s, official government studies conservatively estimated the direct, immediate annual damage to Canadian resources at $1 billion Canadian dollars. This figure, however, represents only a snapshot of destruction in a single year. This assault continued unabated for nearly 2 decades before the signing of the 1991 Air Quality Agreement forced meaningful U.S. action. When calculating true sovereign reparations, simple inflation adjustments to that $1 billion figure are grossly insufficient. We are dealing with 40 years of compounding economic ruin. Had those billions remained within the Canadian economy, invested in sustainable forestry, fisheries innovation, or clean energy, rather than being diverted to cleanup, mitigation, and lost resource productivity, their value would have multiplied exponentially. Conservative economic models assessing the cumulative, inflation-adjusted impact on Canada's natural capital stock and the permanent existence value of destroyed ecosystems place the real-world cost in the hundreds of billions. When factoring in the full loss of future opportunity and multi-generational asset degradation, the total surpasses the trillion-dollar threshold. This was not an accidental byproduct of industrial progress. It was the deliberate externalization of American industrial costs onto Canadian territory to preserve American corporate profit margins.
Smoke rolls north across the borderline. The greed of Pittsburgh tastes like bitter wine. They burned the coal and they killed the trees. Now Canada is dying on their knees. Yeah, they burned the coal and they killed the trees. The story is so drifted with the southern breeze. It stripped the bark and it sickened the seas. They called it progress, but it was a crime while they just watched the ticking of the time. Yeah, they called it progress, but it was a crime. They owe us for the acid rain that fell. They turned our northern woods into a hell. The interest is rising on the debt they hold for the damage done and the story sold. From the city lights, the lakes are empty on the summer nights. They took the profit and they left the cost for every legacy that we have lost. Yeah, they took the profit and they left the cost. They owe us for the acid rain that fell. They turned our northern woods into a hell. The interest is rising on the debt they hold for the damage done and the story sold. Wildfires and you point your hand, but you're the ones who scorched this holy land. With climate shifting and the heat turned high, you watch the smoke bloom in the northern sky. Yeah, you watch the smoke bloom in the northern sky. So count the billions in the ledger book and take a long and honest, steady look. The bill is due for every drop of rain, and we are here to collect on all the pain. Yeah, we are here to collect on all the pain.
The watershed invoice, poisoning the Great Lakes Basin. The violation of Canadian sovereignty extends directly into our shared freshwater resources. The Great Lakes system, holding 21% of the world's fresh surface water, has served for over a century as a convenient, unregulated dumping ground for American industrial, chemical, and municipal waste. The Love Canal disaster in Niagara Falls, New York, remains the most egregious symbol of this failure. Located directly across the Niagara River from Niagara Falls, Ontario, this site was utilized as a chemical wasteland by the Hooker Chemical Company, now Occidental Petroleum, from 1942 to 1953. The corporation dumped approximately 22,000 tons of toxic industrial waste, including highly chlorinated hydrocarbons, lindane, and dioxins. Hooker Chemical was fully aware that this cocktail of carcinogens was migrating through the groundwater table toward the Niagara River. Despite this knowledge, the company capped the site and sold the land to the Niagara Falls Board of Education for $1, upon which an elementary school and residential community were built. The inevitable result was a public health catastrophe. The toxic brew seeped into basements, playgrounds, and the surrounding environment. Critically, this contamination migrated directly into the Niagara River, the primary source of drinking water for millions of Canadians downstream in the Golden Horseshoe, including the cities of St. Catharines, Niagara-on-the-Lake, and eventually, via Lake Ontario, the Greater Toronto Area. This was not a theoretical risk. It was a direct, ongoing flow of poison introduced into Canadian households and ecosystems, the long-term health effects of which are still being studied. Simultaneously, by the 1960s, Lake Erie was declared biologically dead by scientists. This was the result of decades of unregulated industrial discharge from the heavily industrialized American shoreline, including Detroit, Toledo, Cleveland, and Buffalo, alongside massive municipal sewage loading. The influx of phosphorus and industrial toxins caused massive, suffocating algal blooms and the depletion of dissolved oxygen, leading to the total collapse of the lake's walleye and other fisheries. While the severity of this crisis forced the eventual signing of the Great Lakes Water Quality Agreement in 1972, the damage to Canadian commercial fisheries, tourism, and municipal water supplies required decades of expensive, ongoing remediation. Canadian taxpayers have shouldered a disproportionate burden in restoring a watershed that was overwhelmingly polluted by American negligence. The United States remains liable for the full cost of restoring these vital watersheds to their pre-industrial state.
The river runs south from the northern shore, but bringing back poison like it's done before. From the pipes in the valley and the waste in the ground, the cost of the damage is all around. Yeah, the cost of the damage is all around. So send the invoice to the greedy man who ruined the water and the river sand, with interest adding up for every day. It's time for the South to come and pay. The toxic runoff from the southern side, you didn't care where the chemicals died. You took your harvest and you took your gain, while leaving us drowning in your stain. Yeah, you leaving us drowning in your stain. So send the invoice to the greedy man who ruined the water and the river sand, with interest adding up for every day. It's time for the South to come and pay. The treaty's broken like a rusted gate. You hide your records and you seal your face. But nature's calling for the debt you owe. The seeds of disaster you continue to sow. Yeah, the seeds of disaster you continue to sow. So send the invoice to the greedy man who ruined the water and the river sand, with interest adding up for every day. It's time for the South to come and pay. point the finger at a forest fire. While feeding the flames with your own desire. If you want accountability for smoke and haze, then pay for the damages of all your ways. Yeah, you pay for the damages of all your ways. So send an invoice to the greedy man who ruined the water and the river sand. If interest had enough for every dough, it's time for the South to come and pay. The ledger's open and the ink is wet. We're coming to balance a heavy debt. From acid rain to the waterway, your final payment is a bitter taste. Yeah, your final payment is a bitter taste. Pay up now, the bill is due.
The smoke blows north, weaponizing climate destabilization. The most recent iteration of this transboundary crisis is wildfire smoke, which has strained Canada-US relations. Amidst bad faith, historically illiterate narratives from American politicians. Beginning in 2023 and recurring with terrifying intensity in 2024, unprecedented megafires in Canada blanketed major American cities, including New York, Washington, D.C., and Chicago, in hazardous smoke. In a stunning act of geopolitical projection, figures such as soon-to-be former President Donald Trump aggressively sought to blame Canada for this atmospheric disaster, asserting that Canadian mismanagement and failure to rake the forests were the root cause. This narrative is not merely factually incorrect, it is a cynical lie designed to obscure America's undeniable historical culpability in the climate crisis. The unprecedented intensity of these fires is driven by extreme heat, drought, and volatile atmospheric conditions, phenomena directly linked to escalating global climate change. The facts regarding climate culpability are irrefutable. First, the United States is the single largest historical emitter of greenhouse gases globally. For over a century, the U.S. industrial base has driven the atmospheric accumulation of CO2 that is now destabilizing the global climate. Second, rigorous attribution science confirms that a significant percentage of all wildfire carbon emissions in North America are directly traceable to the production and emissions of major, identifiable climate-polluting entities, the carbon majors, the vast majority of which are U.S.-based corporations such as ExxonMobil, Chevron, and Peabody Energy. American industry has knowingly fueled the climate crisis that is now burning the North American continent, leading to extreme fire seasons. Now, American politicians are attempting to demand that Canada pay for the consequences of American pollution. The smoke over New York and Washington is merely the atmospheric manifestation of an unpaid, multi-trillion-dollar American climate debt.
The wind is blowing from the south again, carrying ghosts of industrial sin. You burn the world and you fill the sky, and watch the northern forest die. And you owe us for the smoke that's here, the mounting cost of every year, with interest climbing on the debt you keep while you sow fire that we reap. You claim the mismanagement is ours alone, but your heat settled in our bones. The climate's shifting by your steady hand, and ashes falling on the land. And you owe us for the smoke that's here, the mounting cost of every year, with interest climbing on the debt you keep while you sow fire. There we reap. Oh, the water's foul and the air is black, and there ain't no way of turning back. You talk of trade and you talk of law, but you can't hide what you clearly saw. And you owe us for the smoke that's here, the mounting cost of every year, with interest climbing on the debt you keep while you sow fire. That we reap. That burn, there ain't no lesson you seem to learn. We're sending the bill to your front door, and we are asking you for more. And you owe us for the smoke that's here, the mounting cost of every year, with interest climbing on the debt you keep while you sow fire. That we reap. So face the mirror and count the cost for all the future that we have lost. The wind is turning and the bill is true. We're coming home to collect from you. Time to pay, time to pay, time to pay, time to pay, time to pay. Oh, hey, hey.
Conclusion on the state of affairs. The factual, historical, and economic justification for Canada to pursue a policy of radical, retaliatory accountability is overwhelming and irrefutable. We are not dealing with a partner acting in good faith. We are confronted by a nation whose political establishment and significant segments of whose public exist in a state of willful, aggressive ignorance regarding shared ecological reality. When American leaders can stand before a global audience and claim Canada's forests are burning because Canadians don't rake them, they are engaged in delusional political theater, not rational diplomacy. A sovereign nation cannot negotiate rationally with actors operating on such a plane of irrationality and bad faith. Consequently, Canada's posture must shift decisively beyond traditional, polite diplomacy. The scale of the harm, measured in trillions of dollars, demands extraordinary measures. Canada must aggressively implement retaliatory accountability tariffs to recover historical damages, pursue the legal seizure of assets belonging to major U.S.-based climate polluters operating within Canada, and formally invoice the United States government for the trillions of dollars in natural wealth, future opportunity, and health costs they have systematically destroyed. The era of subsidizing American industrial negligence with Canadian natural capital is over.
For half a century and more, the wind has blown one way, carrying the burden of the South across the border bay. Not just weather, not just fate, but policy and greed that planted in our northern soil a bitter, toxic seed. We're here to read the ledger now, it's time that you take heed. The time for polite diplomacy has quietly reached its end. We're presenting you the invoice for the damage you extend. For acid rain and poison wells and incendiary haze, it's time to pay the balance on the toll of all your ways. From Ohio stacks and Pennsylvania, the sulfur filled the sky. We watched upon the Canadian Shield our forests bleed and die. Thousands of our lakes turn still, no life left in the deep. The silent theft of natural wealth while you were sound asleep. We're tallying the interest now on promises you keep. The time for polite diplomacy has quietly reached its end. We're presenting you the invoice for the damage you extend. For acid rain and poison wells and adversary haze, it's time to pay the balance on the toll of all your ways. You point your finger northward now with such a brazen face, blaming us for wildfire smoke that covers up your place. With talk of raking forests loud, a farce for all to see, to hide your own CO2 when your climate liability. The heat is of your making, don't you put that blame on me. The time for polite diplomacy has quietly reached its end. We're presenting you the invoice for the damage you extend. For acid rain and poison wells and adversary haze, it's time to pay the balance on the toll of all your ways. From Love Canal to Lake Erie, the industrial decay, you used our shared watershed as your easy, cheap way. You took the profit, took the gain, and left the bill behind. A century of dumping that has cost us peace of mind. We're done with subsidizing you, it's time you were assigned. The time for polite diplomacy has quietly reached its end. We're presenting you the invoice for the damage you extend. For acid rain and poison wells and adversary haze, it's time to pay the balance on the toll of all your ways. evidence is factual, written deeply in the land. We're done with the delusion that you don't quite understand. When leaders stand on stages tall and shout their foolish claims, they're playing politics while we are counting out the flames. The era of the free ride's done, we're calling in the names. The invoice is clear, we're collecting the trillions. The price is severe, pay the piper, America.